All right, sorry if you couldn't hear us. We pushed the wrong button again, but we are live, and so this is part of the thing. But we're here. I'm Dylan.
I'm Lydia.
This is Quin.
And welcome to The Broken Dead. Just kind of do a mini intro again. This is for Season 10, Episode 2. And we are figuring this out as we go. Last week, we couldn't even go live at all, so we are far and away already better off than last week.
Yeah.
So just little hiccups like that are not that big a deal. So and plus we didn't get to go live last week, so we had to do it on Tuesday after our other show, the FOMO Show. Check it out Tuesdays at 10 Central Standard Time a.m. This one's at 10 p.m. on Sundays. But on Tuesday we tried to do this one again, and we ended up talking for an hour, and we weren't even live, so we had to go hit it again because I didn't push the button right. Anyways, here we are. Thanks for joining us. And so let's see. Where are we? All right. So we're trying something new. I'm switching around. We're always trying to make it better and switch some of the segments around just to see what plays better, what fits better, what feels better. Let us know in the comments. I'm going to try. Usually we go right into rating the episode and then intro and all that kind of stuff. Excuse me. But I'm going to go ahead and give a spoiler warning first. Of course, we always do that. That was kind of... Anyways, we're going to do our spoiler warning. And then I'm going to go into the Walking Dead news, which usually we do the rate the episode and stuff. So, yeah. So, spoiler alert. If you are not familiar, or you have not watched the episode I'm sorry, I'm falling all over myself here.
Season 10, Episode 2.
Thank you, Quinn. If you haven't seen the episode, then back out now and come back and watch this later after you've seen the episode. This will live on YouTube. So, yes, here we go. Some news in the Walking Dead world right now. There's always like haters, like, oh, the Walking Dead is not what it used to be or whatever. Mm-hmm. And to a certain degree, there is some truth in that, with, you know, things not being focused on Rick and main characters always leaving and all that kind of stuff. That's normal, and especially 10 seasons in on a show, it usually takes on a new life. Consistency is hard.
Yeah.
You know, especially when you're dealing with people's lives. I mean, your full decade, somebody being devoted to one thing. That's hard to do. Mm-hmm. So, some of the news out there right now is the Hollywood Reporter is reporting that the premiere last week had some of the lowest ratings of any episode of The Walking Dead. And some of the haters out there might kind of point to that and say, hey, that's proof positive that the show's on the decline. Well, the truth is, every veteran show in its demographic, when you look at same day viewings, is in a decline. Everybody's dropped about 30-something%.
Yeah.
However, The Walking Dead is still far and away in the lead in that demographic, and it always has been, and it... I mean, I'm not going to say it always will be, because hopefully, but anyways. Plus, there's other things to factor in with, of course, streaming. And on top of just regular streaming and everybody getting into streaming and not everybody watching things live or as it airs anymore, AMC has premiered AMC Premiere, which lets everybody watch the show 48 hours earlier than normal. Usually it airs Sunday night, of course, but now everybody can watch it on Friday night if they want to, which is what we've kind of been doing. That's why we're ready for the show now, and it's great for us, but not so great when you're trying to catch people right after the show who they're still excited about it and that kind of thing. Some people are still watching it. A lot of people are still watching it, several million, in fact. So there's still that, but it's apparently not really... When you look at the big picture, it's not really taking that big a toll. The Walking Dead's still doing pretty dang good. They're expanding into the Walking Dead universe. They're about to do a third spin-off show. And The Walking Dead has been renewed for season 11 already.
right
I
out the
mean,
gate.
yeah. I mean, like, I think last year and the year before about this, at this time, definitely not. And it was almost to like mid-season where everybody was like, is it going to be renewed or not? You know? And so before the first episode even aired, boom, already renewed. So
That's good.
we're in the end game now. With, you know, the other show, and it seems like we're figuring out the communities and all that kind of stuff. And of course, the comic ending, I think we're close to wrapping up in the next few years, maybe.
Yeah,
At least 5 years.
I say 2 more seasons.
2 more seasons?
I say they make the season 13 and then they call it.
That's hard to say with a third spinoff. Like, how are you going to do 2 more, just 2 seasons for a show? I mean, unless it was like an event series, maybe it is. I don't know. They haven't even announced the name of it yet, and we've already got a trailer.
I mean, that show could just be like a setup for like the final thing that like makes all the shows collide and combine to one big moment where The Walking Dead, the main show, will end. The other ones can keep going, and we kind of see the fallout of what happens at the end of The Walking Dead and the other 2 shows.
Yeah, and well, also you got to consider the Rick Grimes movies.
Yep.
Well, you got 3, they're saying, and potentially other spin-off movies that we might see with like the origin of Negan or Daryl Carroll running off into New Mexico or whatever, maybe. I don't know, but I mean, even they've done like little web series and stuff before. It'd be interesting to see like Carol's Adventures at Sea or something like that.
Yes.
But I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, the point I was making, I got a little distracted. But with the Rick movies, you're talking about 3 theater movies they're releasing in the theater. Of course, they'll probably end up on AMC Premiere and all that kind of stuff, like Netflix type game plan, I guess. But you've still got to film those and put them out, unless they do the Lord of the Rings thing where they film them all at once and then just kind of put them out when they're ready.
That'd be the easiest, I think. If they did, yeah.
Because if they I mean, let's say they take 9 months to film it, 6 months to film it. You know, it's going to be another year. I mean, we're talking 2020, 2021 before the first one even gets to us. So hopefully the Walking Dead universe doesn't collapse on itself before we get the third Rick movie.
Yeah.
Which sounds really negative. I don't mean for it to sound negative, but I mean, when I'm just speaking to the fact that it's really difficult to do. You know, it's a miracle when you see things like the MCU that have consistency over a decade. You know, so I'm not trying to speak ill of, you know, the new Walking Dead universe, but I'm just saying that
we'll see where it goes.
It's a balancing act, and it's really difficult to do. So I guess I'm just trying to be a realist on it.
Well, all right then.
So I guess we'll go ahead and rate the episode. How did you guys feel about it?
I'm gonna give it 7 asylum zombies out of 10.
That's kind of a lot.
It was a good episode, I feel like. It was just the things that made my skin crawl and made me go, ugh, was the times when Alpha would say something really weird, like, I like killing with you, and then she said it in her voice, and I was like, ugh, I don't like any of what you just said.
Yeah.
But it was
I didn't really care for it. I mean, I understand why they like switch it up and do something different than what we've normally seen or have seen in the past. They always throw like one weird episode in there. I really could have done without it though. We didn't even see our group at all.
No.
We saw Alpha. And I don't watch The Walking Dead to watch Alpha. I don't care about her backstory. I don't care what made her who she is.
Really?
She's a freak. And I'm ready for her to be dead. I'm done with this storyline. I'm done with the whispers. I really didn't think that they were going to spend another season on it. And they obviously are. They're dragging it out even further than it has to go. I'm just not a fan. It was uncomfortable. It was weird, and it didn't show anything of relevance. It only revealed that that girl who left her baby has a face, but now she's dead. And then it
Super
showed that
dead.
she actually didn't kill Lydia, which we already knew. And we already knew that she had told everybody that she killed her. It really didn't do anything.
You don't think it pushed the story forward any?
No.
Are you done with your
Yeah.
little? Okay. I disagree. I think it definitely wasn't the best episode by far, but I do think it was an okay episode. I'm gonna say seven-ish. Yeah, I'm about the same because I do think it's interesting because I do want to know their backstory and what motivates the bad guys, because I think that makes them bigger bads, knowing where they're coming from and to a certain extent, like with Hitchcock, not showing the bad guy can build suspense and make them a bigger bad. But when you're dealing with I think in this realm, I think it makes more sense to show who they are and show the cracks that Alpha's having and the reason for her to try to double down and go farther and harder all of a sudden, that type of thing. Plus, you got 16 episodes to fill, so.
Yeah. And that's what this episode was. It confirmed as like two things. One, Alpha's not who we thought she is. And two, Carol saw Alpha. Like, that was real Alpha.
Yeah.
I mean, it did confirm that.
Yeah.
Which I didn't like. It was so uncomfortable. Like, the whole episode was like, oh, you think this is uncomfortable? This is uncomfortable. It just was so awkward.
Yeah.
I hated it.
So, if we're not careful, we're going to get into the episode. So we're going to try to keep the ratings brief and go ahead and let Quinn introduce the episode.
Episode 2, We Are the End of the World. In a flashback that reveals the origins of Alpha and Beta, Alpha attempts to toughen up Lydia as they prepare to walk with the dead. The Whisperers create their herds.
Yep, that's the description for this episode.
That is the description.
I could have swore you were about to say "in a world." So, so let's see. One thing that stands out to me at the very beginning of the episode, when Alpha and Lydia are walking with the walkers towards the horn, the lady in the car, that they just don't have a whole lot of walker blood or anything on them, and they're moving with the herd already. And like I would have liked to seen. I mean, yeah, we saw Rick's group discover that, but it seems like every time we see another group discover that, it's to a lesser degree. You know what I mean? And like when we saw it on Fear, like they just put some blood on them, like splash, splash, like sprinkle, sprinkle, and we're good, and they just, I mean, even one of the posters shows Nick with just blood on his face. But if we go through the history of The Walking Dead in the show, you're talking about gore, guts, and
But
later
all the Whisperers wear the face.
Mm-hmm.
It's a dried, tan face.
Yeah, and it doesn't. They look like the dead, but they don't. I mean, maybe they don't.
They don't
bathe.
even whisper. They were straight up talking in the group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like Ryan Hurst, Beta, is the only one that is committed to, like, they are whispers. I'm whispering. You know what I mean?
And he has a very deep voice, so his whisper is loud.
Yeah, and even before he was Mr. B. Mr.
We
B.
don't have names, so you're B and I'm A.
What does that make you? It's like I did feel like it was a little forced with their meeting it or whatever. Like I get it, and he was lone. Like I don't know, maybe it's like all you can do is speculate that why would he let her in and then basically her say you're B what's that make you? I'm A. And him not react.
Well,
And
it's
be like, wait,
basically-
wait, what?
He's basically Harley Quinn, and she's Joker.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
she's already nuts and crazy, and he's like, yeah, you right, I'm B.
See, that's about
It's
right.
weird.
Because then, I mean, she straight up killed his Walker friend. Like, he was the governor, had his little, his relative hanging around, and she straight up just murdered him. Or not,
like-
not murder, but I mean, she ended it. And he's like, no! And then she's just like, it's okay. It's okay. And then Lydia shows up, and he's like, who the hell are you?
And she lifts his mask to see his face, and they don't even show it. They built all that suspense, and we're like,
Well-
no, we don't have in the budget to actually put something on his face.
Well, I feel like that's a tease, and they'll reveal it when Daryl or Negan or whoever fights him and pull off his mask.
Then what? He's
and it's
got
gonna be like,
burns or
oh,
something? Like,
I
it's
don't
not
know.
going to be anything extensive enough.
It's something.
And then it's
I
only
mean,
going
what
to
are they gonna
offend
do?
the actual community. Like, he was probably like that. Something happened, and then he's going to have just, like, a little bit of scarring on his face. And anyone in the universe that's has any type of facial deformity is going to be like, wow.
Well, I'm gonna
you.
choose to trust in Nicotero's skills and what he can do under that mask. I'm
Oh, he has
hoping-
skills.
Yeah,
That's the problem.
I'm just saying I'm trying to be optimistic.
I imagine it more as like V for Vendetta, where it's like, we know that he looks bad under there, but you don't show it. You never show it.
Could be like Deadpool bad. Oh,
don't know.
we'll see. But
Will we?
No.
Will we see?
I
We
mean-
don't know anymore.
it was
And go ahead.
I mean, yeah, their dynamic is weird, and I feel like he needs Alpha actually. Like, yeah, they love each other, but he would have never left there without her, without somebody coming there that he felt like, oh, cool, you're like me, kinda.
Because
Oh,
we're
yeah.
both crazy.
Yeah.
And when she's pulling out the guts, he's just like, "Oh, you're different."
Here, let me rip
So,
open those ribs for ya.
I was like, oh, you did a good job.
Like what I was saying about the guts and stuff. Like, I did like that later in the show, they did show them like gathering guts and gore and stuff to put on. And when they showed Lydia, like, she was covered.
Yeah,
So-
them little gelatin hands was nasty.
Oh, that was nasty.
So-
But I did
Knowing
like,
full well she wouldn't have been able to get that doorknob open if
Yeah.
that was actual blood.
yeah,
I mean, maybe like, well, since they were, they were traveling, we don't know how long they were traveling. It could have like dried up, washed off, and gotten a lesser degree of gross on you.
As a parent, how pissed off would you have been? It's like, I just gave you a bath. I don't care how much you want to be like
Well,
me. I just bathed
she didn't
you.
bathe herself, so I figured that she prefers that actually, and she was just kind of like given, realizing that Lydia's not like her, and she kind of needs to be clean,
Well, she asked, "Can this smell is too bad? Can you wash this off of me?"
Yeah.
So she washed it off. 5 minutes later, she gets up and puts it back on her.
Well, I think that she was kind of like realizing that this isn't what Mama wants, and then with the bunny, it's
Yeah,
like,
but you're
oh,
trying
well, I need
to
be with
ruin my
you.
joke. Yeah,
Oh, my bad.
they made that very clear in the show that she is like, I want to be more like you.
I want to be
Yeah.
like
And how Alpha's just like, yeah, you should want to, because otherwise I'm going to have to leave you behind.
Yeah, it's like like we just saw Joker this weekend, and that's like some Carrie Joker parenting going on here. So,
Carrie?
Yeah, have you ever seen Carrie?
Oh,
Stephen
no.
King Carrie?
Dump
Oh
in
yeah,
the blood.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Cover up your dirty pillows. Yeah.
No. I don't know. I just did not care for it. And she made her this whole twig hut with rock
It was
statue
basically a
things.
nest. Sounds like
How
she made her a
old is
nest.
she? She didn't even make it comfortable. It's still just twigs.
I've seen you sneaking out at night building the nest.
Like,
I
What the
thought
heck?
it was a fire pit. That's what I thought. I was like, no one's sleeping in that, so I hope that's a fire pit.
does she think Lydia's going to leave her actual room where there's an actual bed to go sleep in the woods?
She come look at us like, what
She's
is this?
hoping.
What is this pile of sticks? Kick over some rocks and leave. Like, no, Mom. Oh, you killed my boyfriend.
God, I have a bed back there. Other people could come and have beds here.
You know they taught me there was a no. You know they tried to teach me how to read.
Exactly.
That's it. I'm done. Words are for sissies.
I feel like it was just like a lot of awkward scenes just stretched off across 45 minutes. Like, it didn't have to be that long.
But the Joker was too, so.
I don't know why you keep bringing that up. This
Well,
are
because
two
like the same
totally different
psychological
things.
parenting situation. And I'm not trying to get into spoilers, but
Except for this sucked.
yeah, I gotta
was
admit that
5
it
minutes.
wasn't awesome, but as far as like for what it was a filler episode.
Exactly. That's my
So-
problem.
Well, I mean, and that's been a thing. I mean, it's always a thing. I mean, even looking back at shows like Lost, where there was certain episodes where we like one season we got 2 new characters. And we're like 5 seasons in, and we get 2 new characters, and we're like, where did they come from? We're living on an island, and there was a plane crash, and now there's 2 people that we haven't met, and it was like. We spent like 2 or 3 episodes following them, and everybody was like, "What are you doing?" You know. But there's always filler episodes. I mean, they've got to fill 16 episodes. It would be
No, they
a
don't
lot.
gotta.
Well, I think. Okay, so I think it would be a lot more impactful if there were less episodes, and it was more like a Game of Thrones. Like 10 episodes,
Straight
every
stuff
episode is
after
just
stuff.
bam, bam,
Well, they
bam.
didn't even explain how that set of 7 to 8 walkers that they connect over got into the building.
It could have just been a room where they were there, you know,
And
because
they found
he,
the door
he even
finally broke off or something.
yeah, and he even
But they
said that
didn't
he
show
liked
that.
being around him.
Okay, but they didn't come out until then.
I felt like they went somewhere else in the hospital.
No, definitely not.
No.
They were just like there.
It was. I mean, it obviously wasn't the same hallway that they had been speaking in. They
No.
went down a different like hallway or something. And I don't know.
They might
That's
have just
what
come
I
around
thought.
because of the noise.
So why
Maybe.
they showed up right on time?
Well, that obviously they always do.
They always do.
I know, it's stupid.
Yeah. It's definitely better than Fear, though. I mean, we've always got that to fall back on.
It's not a comparison though. It's got to be standalone.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really think that there was a whole lot in this episode. It wasn't a meaty episode, especially when you talk about some of the meatier episodes that we've had. I know that it's not a comparison, but this just didn't do it for me.
Well, I think in the greater scheme of things, when you look at how they're kind of leaning towards the confrontation between Carol and Alpha, that they're showing more of the motherhood side of Alpha to kind of so we feel like they're more the same person, like different sides of the same coin.
I don't have a coin.
That would be okay if they had only shown the scene where she's kicking down the twig nest that she built for her and is like, that's my baby. But instead she was just like, it's a good thing you want to be like me, because otherwise I'm gonna leave you at the house. I don't know what else you want. You got to be like me. 40 seconds later she's like, that's my baby. It just didn't
Well,
make any sense.
That's
was my
how
thought. I remember now.
that's how
Go ahead.
mental instability works.
Yeah.
Like, it does not make sense. One moment it's like her value of herself is tied to her control and having Lydia. And so
right, but
when
they
Lydia,
haven't established that she has any mental instability.
except that she's wearing dead people's skins,
Okay,
I
well, so
mean,
are 30 other people in her group.
they-
You're trying to
who
tell
are
me
ready
that they're
to
all mentally
like
unstable?
sacrifice their sister for a random alpha.
They're
stranger.
obviously new to the group.
I'm just saying she's ready to get rid of her sister.
Well,
and
I'm
telling
saying
her,
all 30
I'm
of
so
those
glad
people
you got
aren't
rid of your
mentally
baby.
unstable. You can't act like just wearing the whisperer head or the heads, the mask, make them mentally unstable. It doesn't.
I think it does. I think that there was probably a spark of mental instability, and that them pursuing that, it grew. and it watered that spark. And now they're full on walking around because you got to admit, in the apocalypse, everybody is going through extreme stress situations,
Right.
and everybody is cracking and coming back and forth trying to hold it together. And some people have just accepted and embraced
And that's
the
fine
crack
in the apocalypse. That's
Yeah.
fine. But to try and say that these episodes like this, paint her as mentally unstable before the apocalypse.
No, that was during the apocalypse.
I know. I'm saying, like, you're saying she was already crazy. She
Yeah.
wasn't.
I think she
wasn't
was
already crazy.
I think she was. She was borderline, and this was the inciting incident, and it just gave her a reason to be like, "All right, here we go."
Hey, hi guys.
Sorry, go ahead.
It's okay. 3 things. First thing, I think Alpha's bipolar. From like last season, the flashbacks of when they were like in that camp. I thought it then, but it was like, maybe not. Maybe she's just this way because she was always this way, and this is just lettered out. But after this, I'm really starting to lean towards she's bipolar. They just haven't said it. Second thing, like Alpha, I mean, yeah, they're in a cult-ish society with their group, but she has them thinking like this is the best way to live because they're safe from the walkers, and she doesn't want them to see like the society, the communities or anything. It's like, oh, there are other ways to live because they might like leave. It's like, okay, no, this lady's actually crazy, and try to leave, turn on her, whatever. And what was the third thing? However everything's gonna end is gonna be different than it was in the comics. Several reasons. One, Gamma, which is an original character. 2, Beta's different. He's actually equally crazy, and he's still as brutal and Terminator-ish. Just I don't know where that's gonna go either, and I think they're both gonna end up dying.
Can you elaborate on the difference between comic Beta and show Beta?
So, comic Beta, he met Alpha and everything, and then she kind of like showed him the way of being a whisperer. But comic Beta, he's 7 foot tall, used to be in the NBA, so he was fine. He wasn't unstable or anything. He just kind of met Alpha and was like, yeah, you're my lady. You're going to help me survive in the apocalypse. But
Are you singing? You're my lady. Sorry.
But this Beta, it's a twisted love story between these two, because like
for sure.
that's what this is. But because I like ultimately now I think Beta and Alpha, they're gonna share the same fate of getting their heads cut off at the same time, and I think Gamma's gonna have a bigger hand in that. Because after Alpha dies, Beta takes over the Whisperers just by like default, and then that super herd, he sends that to Alexandria, but then he ends up getting himself killed in that process. So I think they're just gonna die at the same time, and with the super herd might just not even be a thing. But we'll see.
Yeah, because Angela Kang confirmed on Talking Dead last week that Beta and Negan will in fact meet, and she's not saying how, of course, but they could potentially be taking that Negan Alpha story and making it Negan Beta, even though they really hardcore built up a Daryl Beta confrontation last season.
And then we're just like, no, we don't like this. Let's throw it down an elevator shaft.
Yeah, but it lives. So yeah, they are hardcore leaning into the Carol Alpha confrontation, which I love. I want them to explore that because I do like the fact that, it's like a Joker Batman situation. It's like there's one bad day difference because there's a sliver. Carol could very easily.
Who's Batman? Who's the Joker?
Carol's obviously Batman.
I mean,
she could very easily fall over that, trip over that crack and become an alpha type situation. She could, like we were talking about last time, where she could have very well been the next big bad that they faced.
Super easy.
She was, super close.
Oh man, that would have really been good actually. Ooh, that would have been fun.
I think that whenever you were talking about, like, they're basically in a cult, that clicked for me. They're very obviously a cult. Like, they're acting as a cult. The whole, we are free, we have no names, we are free. Like,
Yeah, I anoint you, Gamma, and Gamma.
what
and
in
all
the
that.
heck?
Yeah.
They were basically drinking the
yeah.
Kool-Aid. It
Very
is
much.
ridiculous. So I can get that. I can kind of get the crazy in that. But that's not mentally unstable. That's buying into something because you want something to believe in. And it's the apocalypse, and so you have to believe in something.
That's a good point. I'll give you that. Absolutely.
Because, I mean, people are a part of cults all the time, and they're mentally fine. They're just not emotionally okay, and that's a whole different segment. But I feel like comparing them to a cult that has a leader that walks that border, if you will. But Carol crossed that line multiple times when she killed them at the jail, at the prison, and she's just like, hey, they had to die or they were going to kill all of us. Where, you know, the whole look at the flowers, all of those things. I think Carol very well could have a cult leader personality type, and if we know anything from Creed Bratton, you make way more money as a cult leader than you do as a follower. But it's still fun. So I feel like if Carol tried to make a cult, well, I don't know if she could lead a cult. Because, I mean, she tried to do the whole, we need to teach the kids how to use guns and weapons and stuff, and it didn't work. She failed.
And I did want to say something about that when you get done with your thought.
No, that's good.
So, I when I was watching the episode, and I totally forgot about this, I do feel like, you know, what I was saying earlier about their hardcore showing, building Alpha up as a bad guy, Carol, especially with the sisters, making that reference, because Carol's been dealing with these type of people all throughout the series, where, you know, like in the prison, she kind of leaned into that. But then she pulled back, and then you've got the two sisters and the look of the flowers, where, I mean, those sisters were basically, they could have been in this cult. They could have been Whisperers, especially the older sister. Like, she was...
Spoiler alert, she's Alpha. No, just kidding.
Yeah. That would have been
She
funny.
supplied the headshot. Aww.
Yeah. But, yeah, I felt like that... I really feel like that was a reference to those sisters.
And if this episode was to propel Carol's storyline, then I'm fine with that. But they've got to make it connect for me, because just this episode as a standalone episode did not do anything for me.
Yeah, I'm like I said, I'm trying to be optimistic, and we're only 2 episodes in, so I'm feeling like just wait and see what's going to happen, because I feel like I'm excited for what Angela Kang has up her sleeve. So I
for sure. She seems like a cool cat. Like, I would love to hang out with her. She seems really my style. So I think she's got good things for the show. I think so does Greg Nicotero. I think it's going to be awesome. But this particular episode was not even... It's not going to be in my top 16.
Yeah.
Once all the episodes are done, I'm going to wish they had just left it.
But I do feel like it's going to be one of those episodes where a couple episodes down the line, we're going to look back and go, oh, yeah, okay, I get you.
Nah.
That's how I feel about it. How do you guys feel about it? Let us know in the comments below if you're watching this live right now, or if you're watching it later on when it's living on YouTube. Let us know.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the first episode was just like, what's everybody doing now? And then the satellite, and then it's like, what are the Whispers doing now? And then the satellite, and then it's like, okay, episode 3. This is
Slow burn.
This is where the real season starts.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. But, I mean, I didn't really like how they made it seem like they were really, really far away, but then they saw it kind of closely and, like, saw confusing. The smoke and stuff like that. Like,
it looked like it was closer to them than everybody else.
Yeah.
And all, I was like...
Yeah, because I feel like they were getting the... Because they obviously... At the end of the last episode, we saw in the canyon or whatever that they did not have that herd in the canyon anymore, obviously. But they were trying to bring herds together and collect more. So, I mean, and I think that's what Michonne meant by their nuclear option, by having that giant herd that Daryl saw. Of course, Carol looked and it wasn't there, and now they're having two smaller herds. They're decent sized herds, but definitely nothing compared to the mega herd. So I feel like they were. I don't know. I gotta agree that it was hard to tell where they were, because it seemed like they at the beginning of the episode seemed like they were still down south or wherever they migrated to, and then it seemed like when we saw the satellite that they were still en route to where they were going, because Beta was all about going back, but
you think about whenever he talked to Gamma about where she was, she said, "Well, I see her. She was at the old camp, so they obviously never went very far."
Or maybe, super maybe. So, I mean, winter comes, they can't, like, just take that super herd with them. It probably took them forever to get them there, so they let them do whatever, whether they scatter, all froze to death, and just now buried on the ground somehow. They went down wherever they went to, further south, where it's warm and they can live. And then they start, as they make their way back, they're gathering herds and like keeping them in small camps as they keep moving through. So when they get back, they have either their herd they had, or they have a good chunk of what they know they already lost.
Yeah, I don't know. Also, at the beginning of the episode, Alpha said that they still had some gathering to do, and guardians and all that kind of, which is what they call the herd. But yeah, that was kind of hard to tell, like where they were, because they did say the old camp, and it was obviously close enough where she wanted Lydia to come back to it, and it was for Lydia.
That's what she had been sneaking out at night to do, was build this camp for Lydia. So they've been in the same place.
Yeah.
They haven't been so migratory that they were just gone.
Yeah.
And it had to have been close enough that she thought Lydia would actually find it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it just didn't really align.
Yeah, that's hard to argue.
Or Alpha's a genius and she's playing like a super long game just so she has an excuse to go kill everybody.
Elaborate?
So, like, she's been gone. She kind of moved the whispers and everywhere so that they, everybody like, oh, they're gone, or they're not here. They're not. For the winter, they probably were gone. And then they came back at some point. They were just kind of hiding. But everybody, they were still, crossing the borders and everything. And she was just waiting for an excuse to go and just kind of start killing people. So.
I'm sorry. Can you say that again?
She was waiting for it. She hid the whispers so they would think that they're gone, they're not around. They would start crossing the borders just so that she could catch them crossing the borders, and she has an excuse to go start killing them. Because she gave them the warning, don't cross the borders or it's war. And then they're gone, so she won't know. And then So
she was setting them up
for
failure, like make a power move to establish her dominance in her own camp again.
Yeah.
Okay, I could see that.
But it didn't feel like that was her plan until the satellite.
But there was, in the beginning, earlier in the episode, they were talking about that there was unrest in the camp, and they were kind of thinking that she was getting weaker or like letting up because she didn't kill her, so
she gave her a promotion.
Yeah, she was like, well, we got to give them a reason. I'll show them that it's not safe there and stuff.
Yeah, and it really puts Alpha in a scary situation, a weak situation, because now she's got two hardcore people in leadership, and one, even though he believes in her, he knows that there are cracks in her armor, that she is not where she needs to be. And if Gamma finds out,
Gamma's gonna go for
she knows, oh, my sister very nearly took Alpha out. So I could potentially just do the same thing, and I would be alpha. I would be alpha. So
That was uncomfortably spot on.
we are whisperers that yell.
Please stop. Okay.
I'm starting to see like maybe the South Carolina-ish.
No.
Maybe. I don't know.
No.
It is definitely like old South.
Oof.
Like Gone with the Wind.
You mean
type
very
of-
forced?
Yeah.
If that's what you mean, then you're
It's
right.
Like I wonder where she got like who's her voice coach and like
It wasn't
where...
Andy Bernard because he would have told her.
Watch Gone with the Wind too many times. That's what she did.
Yeah. She literally was like, let's pick either Gone with the Wind or Little House on the Prairie, and let's turn them up to 20.
Yeah. She's like, where does this take place again? Georgia? Got it. Georgia. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
She could have just not had the accent and it would have been fine.
Yeah, exactly.
It's almost
'Cause
as
they're-
bad as Lauren Cohen's.
I'm going to give Lauren Cohen a pass just because
No.
she's Lauren Cohen. She's coming back. Yay.
Yay.
I'm ready for Maggie to come back. Got something in my hair, just crazy hair.
Just crazy hair.
So yeah, I mean that is also a potential wrench in
Face
everything.
off.
Everything too when Maggie comes back and sees that Negan is out there just on work release, doing his thing.
She comes back and he gets Lucille. She's probably gonna lose her mind.
Mm-hmm.
She might tell him to leave, or she might kill him.
Yeah. So it's possible that we don't, because one of the complaints for the Negan arc was that it was 2 seasons. It was too long. It was just too much. And plus a whole lot of nothing happening besides just Negan leaning and So hopefully they're going to take that note and not push too far with the Whisperers, and maybe they'll even wrap this Whisperer arc up with the mid-season finale and then launch into another one, because that would make sense story-wise to if they're going to do like cliffhangers or something and go halfway into it and then get people to come back for the season premiere next year. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think it'll be difficult to do because the Whisperers are pretty bad. They're as bad as it gets when you think about apocalyptic big bads,
Mm-hmm.
So I think what they'll have to do is somebody's going to come in and kill the Whisperers, and it's not going to be our group, and they're like, uh-oh, they're bad.
That could work.
Or maybe it could be like this CRM group that comes in and does it, and then it's Maggie with them, and they're just like, what?
Yeah.
Maybe.
That could
And-
work too.
Or maybe they start reaching out to other communities to help beat the Whisperers, which I don't see
Yeah.
how they don't outnumber the Whisperers.
Yeah.
Anytime we've seen them, it's like, okay, this is a fairly small group.
Mhm.
You live in the woods. How
Yeah.
strong are you? Like,
Well,
Because
what
they-
can you do?
The what the Whisperers have going for them is the mystery of not knowing how many there are. Like when she showed Daryl,
Which one's a
like, look, we've
whisperer?
got a canyon full of
Yeah, but now they
guardians."
don't.
Well, they also know that they're not there and they're potentially coming back. So I mean, that's what they've got going for them, is this wild, unknown thing. That it's like Angela Kang said, it's like a Cold War thing where there's just anxiety and nervousness. People just don't know what to
Yeah.
think. you
Yeah,
know?
even like when oh crap, I forgot his name.
Did you say Quin?
No, I forgot his name. Him and Michonne
when?
on the
like Quin, my bad.
on the bridge.
Rick?
Nope. Other guy lost his hand. He is Rick, but he's
Aaron.
not Rick. There we go. Could
Oh.
not remember Aaron's name. Michonne was yelling from her horse, "Watch their hands!"
Mhm.
Like, yeah, they're all super nervous when they're fighting walkers now.
Yeah. Which is great
yeah,
because it makes it scary again.
because it's unknowing. And then the fact that, they could just be like, oh, well, you two go get those 7 walkers, take them to that side of their camp. You 7, go get those 22 walkers, take them over there, and we're just going to throw walkers at the wall. And they could just constantly do that. Like, Whispers, even though they don't have a lot, they may not have a lot of numbers, they have the dead, which is...
But they don't even have that, and I think that's why they showed that this episode is they can't even control that because the people amongst them are causing issues inside the herd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What at the same time, like, I don't want to see the Whisperers not at full power be taken out. You know what I mean? I want our group to have grown to the place where they can handle the Whisperers. I want them to rise to the occasion, not barely get it done because the Whisperers slipped up. You know what I mean?
But it will also feel really crappy if our group just like goes in and just kills them really easily, because then it's like, well, why didn't you do that before your people died?
Well, yeah, that's what I mean by rise to the occasion. Obviously, I don't think that they were ready. They couldn't. It was so mind blowing at that point but now they've grown so much that now that they can kind of handle it. I don't mean like just go in and wipe them out, but I also don't want the Whisperer. Like, the only reason they won is because the Whisperers just weren't doing well.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, maybe they'll continue to build, get to a point where they have to, do what they did in the comics, send in a Negan, and he's just.
I mean, he's been in prison, just doing
this
this
the whole time. That's why it has the beard's like, this, and just takes off the shirt. Yep, this is what I've been doing for the past 10 years.
Like
I'm gonna take them all out at once. He's straight up the situation in there.
Oh my gosh. So another thing that it just popped in my head, Angela King said last week, her and Nicotero were talking about how Carol slit the walker's throat and put out the fire with it. And I thought that was like one of the baddest moments of the episode. I thought it was really cool. And she was kind of worried that it was going a little too far, because she was like, is this a little too much? And he was like, no. I was like, you literally have somebody with a mace for a hand, and you think putting out like a fire with walker blood is too far.
Just literally switch the mace out with a chainsaw, and it's Ash versus Eve.
It
Right?
is. Yeah. I know. It's like how... that's where it's
the next spin-off show.
Yeah, it needs to be cohesive, because it's at some points it feels like they're leaning into the comic horror genre, just like as crazy as we can get, and woo, fanboyish stuff. And then on the other side, it's like it's trying to be more grounded in reality and slow things down. And it's like,
it's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like you definitely can tell the difference when Greg Nicotero does an episode and when Angela King does an episode. Like, that is the difference. It's when...
Well, last episode, she wrote it and he directed it, so... Yeah.
Well,
I don't know who directed this episode or wrote it, to be honest. I didn't look.
Scott Gimple. Just kidding.
That's why. That's why.
Shots. Sorry about that.
So is there anything else you guys want to say about this episode before we move on?
I think that's it.
Yep, nothing else.
How old was Lydia? Time out. How old was Lydia?
Yeah, I didn't feel like the timeline matched
They said it was
up.
like 7 years or something like that, from what
I smooth thought just because of the
I don't know where I
screaming
heard
lady in the car, which now that lady also helped me understand why there are walkers under the car, because she did what she did, and that's where she died. It's kicking, screaming, and start crawling on the car, and then she got bit. Like, oh, that's why there are walkers
and they
under
don't
the
know
car.
how to get out from under there until
Somebody comes up and yep. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
She helped me understand that. And also I was like, dang, she was in a car wreck, so it made me think it was like very early in the apocalypse.
I would think so.
So I was like, oh dang. It's
Well,
like
I don't know, because
year
even
one?
I don't know, because even like last season or whatever, like even when they got caught with Negan, everybody had cars. So
Yeah. But it's been 6 years. What's the time skip between
But
last
they
season
had
and-
cars because they were making fuel.
Yeah. But I mean, she could have been siphoning or something. Maybe she came from another community. Who knows?
Maybe. Something. Either it was like year 1, year 2, or something. Somebody
Yeah.
Well,
didn't.
how old was
Nicotero
Lydia whenever they left the group that her mom killed her dad?
What now?
She was a lot younger in that one, I thought.
Yeah, she was a little kid in that.
Yeah.
So that was definitely like the beginning of the apocalypse.
So
Yeah.
on Talking Dead last week, Nicotero, when they introduced the clip that showed the very beginning, he did say that it was towards the beginning, and so it felt more like the seasons 2 and 3 type thing.
Okay.
So
But
close.
that still throws the timeline off.
Just a tad. 'Cause
I mean,
it's like
Lydia's what,
year
18
one.
now?
Yeah.
well, how long was Rick in the coma? So we don't really know exactly.
Okay.
Long enough for him to not starve to death.
Also, yes. Dang. Huh. Well, we just poked some. Okay. He was in a coma, but he didn't need food. Huh. He should have been a lot skinnier. Maybe he was in a coma even if he was in a coma like a month. Oh, I don't know.
It had to have only been a
but
couple days.
Shane did go back and block off the door so the walkers couldn't get in. So maybe he was going back periodically and just hooking up a new IV or something. I don't know.
He couldn't have been because they were out in the woods and really didn't know where anybody was.
Yeah,
They didn't
and
even think he was alive.
That's true. That's
She
true.
was straight up sleeping
Last
with
thing in
another
his mind
dude.
was Rick.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think that it
That's
just
true.
questions a lot of the timeline because Lydia, I mean, if you think about Carl.
I'm sorry, everyone. I didn't mean to do that.
Yeah. If
Okay.
Because okay. So like when they're with the group with Dale and everybody,
Oh, Dale.
Carl is a certain age, but then we have a flashback where Laurie is like taking Carl to school, and Carl was basically the same age, right?
I don't know what you're talking about anymore. I'm talking
in
about
season 1.
Carl was a very young kid,
Mm-hmm.
first grader at max. And then he was, how old when he died? 16? 17?
17.
So, I don't know.
So about that old. So you're thinking, okay, 10 years have passed. We've been in the apocalypse about 10 years. Because he would be 6 or 7. So say 10
Yeah.
years have passed, but 6 more years have passed. So 16 years have passed.
Unless Lydia was born, at the beginning of the apocalypse, she should be in her 20s.
Right. And she just doesn't look it.
No.
Yeah.
They're painting her as a kid.
Yeah.
Dang.
Well, I don't know because I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
So that puts
Oh, crap.
this episode.
Well, I don't know because Carl and Lydia weren't a thing. It was Henry and Lydia.
Yeah.
So
Either way, they were all the same age.
Carl
They were
was
painted
older
enough to
than
be
Henry.
teenagers. You're talking
I don't
2,
know,
3
because-
years difference max.
okay, so let's look at Henry was around when Carl was around, but Henry was a lot younger.
Mm-hmm.
So Lydia's Henry's age.
So I guess 18 at the max. Somewhere in there were either missing years or time was stretched out longer than we thought it was.
I don't know. I'm starting to think it makes sense.
So if we've been in the apocalypse 16 years, because RJ's, didn't they say he's like 6?
Yeah, ish.
Because Judith's
So
Okay,
10.
so
5 or
yeah,
6.
Judith is 10.
Mm-hmm.
So it's 10 years from the apocalypse. 10 years. We're 10 years in.
10 years total?
Yeah.
Oh, seasons got stretched. That's what that is then.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
so with the time jump after Rick, what was that? 3 years?
No, RJ was 6.
No, RJ's 6 now, but before the time jump, RJ was like 2 or 3 maybe.
Rick died, and it's Rick's baby. So no matter when the time jump was, Rick was around when RJ was conceived, and if he's 6 years old now.
Where are we missing in 3 years? We're missing 3 years somewhere.
The time jump.
The time
at the
jump?
beginning of last or the the season, mid-season of last year, Rick blew up on the bridge.
That was 7 years into the apocalypse.
Yeah. Then there was a time skip when we came back, and remember Daryl was out on his own.
So you're trying to tell me Carl was 12? If Carl was 5 or 6,
I think
7
Carl was
years
probably more
later-
like 20.
No, listen to what I'm saying. If when the apocalypse happened, even if Carl was 7, pretend that he was 7. You're trying to tell me that when Rick died, we were 7 years into the apocalypse. That only puts Carl at 14.
He's not 14
Plus
when he died.
3. I don't know. Okay, so when Judah...
Someone please explain this to
Yeah.
us. We will
we're
not
gonna
get this
sit here
done.
forever trying to figure this out. Yeah,
We're too far in. We're too confused.
Yeah, if nobody answers, then we'll try to look it up and have it next week. So
Yeah.
let's go. Let's move on to next on The Walking Dead instead of everything that's happened already.
Okay.
All right, so we did get a teaser for next episode, which is called Ghosts. The description is the threat of the Whisperers returns. I'm sorry. The threat of the Whisperers' return leads to paranoia sweeping over Alexandria. In the meantime, Carol battles with the need for revenge.
Bam, 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 bam.
So did you see the teaser?
I did see the teaser.
Okay.
Where did the Whisperers get guns?
What?
Did
Guns?
you not see them with guns?
No, I don't.
At the border?
They had guns?
They had guns.
What?
Alpha,
Okay.
Alpha said, you need to be punished. And then they're like, one dude had an AK-47.
Dude, I do not remember seeing that. What stands out in my mind is, did you see like the extended minutes or whatever? There was another one where Michonne was telling everybody, okay, Gabriel's going to take point, and Aaron's taking this crew here.
I didn't see that one.
Okay, and then at the end, it shows like they obviously all look like they've been through it. Like they've got like blood splatters and stuff on. So something has happened, and they are regrouping. Carol goes into her room, reaches under her bed, and pulls out a revolver. Takes the tape off, and she's got like half as many bullets in there. I can't remember the name of that.
Oh.
Yeah. But she also whips out some pills and pops some pills. Yeah.
Okay.
And then gets up and goes. So what is she taking? Why is she taking? Like, I don't know.
Ritalin.
How do they have it?
Yeah. Did Dante say, hey, girl, I got something for you?
Yeah, that was my question. Like, that has to be back at Alexandria because she's in a house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She's not at Oceanside in huts. She's at a home. So at some point she goes back to Alexandria. So enough time has passed that they traveled from Oceanside back to Alexandria.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's going to be one of the more interesting episodes.
Yeah. I'm ready for things to hit the fan.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think we're going to get there quick.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, they're definitely teasing some major implications.
Yes.
So I mean, I think you're right about the first 2 episodes being the setup. Like, here's what's happening here, here's what's happening there, and now, ba-bam!
I did not notice that they had guns, though, so I'm going to have to go back and watch that.
Yeah, unless I was crazy, but yeah, I thought you gotta be punished.
Yeah, I do remember her standing at the border, and like she's like Gamma shows up at Hilltop or whatever, and was like, Alpha summoned you or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're like, what are you talking about? she just needs you. Just go. I don't know why I'm talking like that.
It's just making my skin crawl. Oh, but yeah, I think
Anything you guys think what's going to happen or anything in the next episode?
it's gonna be a lot of death.
For sure.
First battle in the actual war.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that they make this Whisperer story arc end in the mid-season finale, and then we move on to Maggie getting back or whatever, or CRM or whatever else is up next.
Yeah, they can. Yeah, it could end here, because if it's just like one thing after another up until the mid-season finale, I'll be fine with that.
Yeah, I did see. It was either Brad Davis or Kristen Acuna who cover The Walking Dead. Brad Davis works for comicbook.com. Acuna works for Business Insider, and they cover The Walking Dead for their respective companies. I did see. I want to say it was one of those two, and there. I just want to say I appreciate you guys posting on Twitter and stuff all the time, keeping us informed and everything that's going on, because we're obviously not journalists. We don't have an inside track to this information or interviews with cast members and that kind of thing yet. But I want to say it was one of them that said that they saw the first 3 episodes and it blew their mind. Like they were just like ready to.
Cool.
They were excited for the rest of the season.
Maybe that's a thing now. Like it's like set up, action, set up, action. Like this.
Which it makes sense because you think about the 3 acts. You've got build up, you've got everything going on, and then you've got the climax. So maybe maybe they're leaning into that.
Maybe. Yeah, and it makes sense for them to release enough episodes to get the press on their side, because that's where we get our information. So.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, guys. So appreciate you tuning in. Just want to say thanks for joining us. We'll hope that you'll join us live on YouTube next Sunday and every Sunday at 10 p.m. Central Standard Time. And also, please like and subscribe and hit the little bell icon.
Ding.
For when we drop a new video, you'll find out and you'll know. You get a little notification. And podcast listeners, please leave 5 stars in your podcast app. And don't forget to check out the website at www.broken.picturesno.com. And this is Dylan.
And I'm Lydia.
This is Quin.
And we'll see you next time. Peace.
Bye.
I don't know why I did this. Anyways, thanks.
He is not a crook.